Hi friends, welcome back to another video. I am gonna do a bit of a tarot reading today. I haven't done one of these in a while, and okay, I don't know where to begin with this, so I'll start with what inspired me to press record. So yesterday, and maybe some of you are going through similar, I don't know, but yesterday I had a very bizarre, like, kind of tapped out day, and I was like, my body went into this mode where it felt as if I almost had like a flu or like a full body like sickness or something. I don't know, but I felt really dehydrated. I all of a sudden was like so fatigued, and it was almost like this big wave of grief came over me. And I mean, there was just so much kind of like coming to a head the other day, and I never nap. I've probably taken less than 10 naps in midday in my life. That's probably not true. I've been alive for 28 years. I've probably taken more midday naps than that, especially as a child. But my point is, I don't nap during the day. I wake up, and even if I get 3 hours of sleep, I don't nap. I just don't like it, and it doesn't really, it doesn't feel natural for me. But yesterday, I did. And part of the reason why I did was because I had a structure, like a schedule. I was gonna do a plan with some friends, and that wound up falling through for us, which worked out in my favor anyway. And so, anyway, between whatever time of day it was and going to meet my friends, I decided I'm going to lay down and shut my eyes. And I started to kind of dream, but I wasn't really sleeping. But my body was in a very deep, like, parasympathetic state. So, yeah, and I don't usually nap, like I mentioned. And I've had some, like, soreness and stuff going on in my body, and I was like just feeling so weird, and like all of these different discomforts and emotions and sensations were just like bubbling up and coming to a head, and kind of knocking me out a little bit. But I reached this point, and it came in like a premonition or like a glimmer or like a faint moment of just, oh, I see this clearly. I'm seeing a pattern where I recognized what God or my spirit, was wanting to communicate with me through that density. I don't know if you ever experience that kind of dynamic. I feel like it's a very common thing. A lot of people experience. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say it's like, when it's, I don't know, how people say like God is close to the brokenhearted, or like the cracks are where the light gets in. It's kind of, the bit of the same thing happened for me last night. I was just feeling really overloaded, and it kind of knocked me into surrender. And that made it easy for this like sense of spiritual comfort or clarity to kind of come in. And I started hearing these, wisdoms or messages or reminders that were very personal to me. And that's why I made this video. That's why I want to, share this. Because last night I had a dream, and in my dream, sometimes I wake up and I hear phrases, or I hear instructions, or I hear guidance or pieces of wisdom. And so, yeah, that's what I want to share. And then I figured I would use my tarot deck to kind of refine the messages. But the main point of this video, the main message here that I want to deliver is, God and truth, they go hand in hand. And you can't really connect with God or truth or clarity from a space of resistance, or what did I write? Hold on, let me get my notes here. Okay, so I just looked at my phone notes, and these weren't the exact words, but the message was somewhere along the lines of stop expecting to heal or find God where people resist truth and honesty. So yeah, I feel like that message is kind of coming. I mean, it's coming from a very personal place for me, and it is very relevant to some of the themes that have been present in my life these days. Also, I don't know how I'm coming across right now. I am drinking an Alani and it's got caffeine, and caffeine makes my brain short circuit a little bit, so just bear with me in case I don't know. It's weird. Caffeine consciousness is bizarre. Anyway, that message was kind of the quality that I was starting to feel yesterday as I entered into this like surrender mode. And yeah, I guess I'm going to go into a bit of a story with this video. And this is just going to be a raw rambling off the top of my head kind of thing. So if you're resonating with this, then that's great. Let me know. But yeah, so I have, been posting and sharing online for a while, and I'm growing a business, and I'm putting my stuff out there. And what I find is that the more visibility that I receive, the more projections that I also notice, and I don't want to say receive, but see. Yeah, the more projections come at me. And I mean, there's so much in this. I think that in life, I believe that everyone has a spark of divinity and life and dharma and passion and purpose alive in them. It's like before you were born as a soul, you were given by creation, by God, this unique light that's purpose is to reveal itself on the earth. This is also, it ties into what I've learned about like a general kind of Jewish philosophy on the duty of the soul. It's been taught to me that the duty of every Jewish soul is to reveal the light of their neshama, their soul, on planet Earth. And a lot of Jewish rituals are tied to the intention of bringing divinity into the mundane, like bringing God into the mundane in life in every single area. And there's God and revelation and light and spirit, soul, source, beauty, magic in literally everything, everywhere. And yeah, so every human being has different inclinations, different cravings, different gifts, different ways of expressing their unique soul light. And I hope that you can hear me over the chimes outside. I have my window cracked open and the wind chimes are going. I don't think it's an issue, but I'm just aware of that. Anyway, yeah, we all have our own unique soul gifts, soul light, whatever, and we express it in different ways. And for example, I mean, one of the ways that I love expressing my gifts and my connection with Source and God and my soul and my spirit is through speaking. I love speaking. I love making videos. I love posting. I love sharing my processes. I also am a visual artist. I love drawing, and I'm actually intending to put more focus in the next little season of my life on sharing more of my visual art and creating more of my visual art with kindred people. And another way I like expressing God within me is through teaching, through holding space, through creating experiences for people. That's what I do in my business. I also love tending my home. I love creating a nest, collecting aesthetically, visually beautiful pieces and arranging them and creating a nice ecosystem and environment. I like creating ecosystems. I love aquariums. These are just a few of my things that, a few of my ways or my pathways or channels through which I like to express that spark of divinity. And I'm getting a vision in my mind of like 2 pillars. One pillar represents your connection with God or with Source. And when you're inside that pillar, you feel clear, you feel a sense of direction, you feel inspired, you feel peace, you feel quiet, you feel yourself, you feel embodied, you feel, all that good stuff that a person feels when they are connected. And I'm sorry for the motion. I'm like weird about fabrics, and my dress is like sticking weirdly to this chair, and I'm just trying to resituate myself. Goodness gracious. Okay, caffeine brain. Let's work together. Yeah, okay, so that's that pillar. And then there's another pillar. I don't even know if I would call it a pillar, but it's like there's that column when you're aligned and plugged in, to your spirit, to your expression. And then there's outside of that, where noise and distraction and a lack of clarity and confusion exists. And that's where projections exist, people's projections. And so in life, if we really think about this plainly and simply, I think this is just a thing that happens whenever you share the light of your heart. And we see this, we learn this, like children experience this as they come up, of age, coming of age. It's like, every kid, for the most part, I think eventually learns that, the love and the innocence inside of themselves that they, see in everyone and everything outside of themselves is, how do I put this into words? It's like every child is born unconditionally loving, no filter, no separation between me and you. It's like, I see you like God, I am fully myself with you. And not every human, can respect that or reciprocate that or protect that or honor it. Some people will take advantage. Some people, are, whatever, humans, right? Like some people are just mean. They behave not loving and pure of heart and open. It's like they don't act that way. And children don't know that. So it's like they have this God-given, we all have love inside of us. We all do. And I think, whether we're a child full of love, wanting to share that with every person that we pass, which is a beautiful thing, or we're, a creative person trying to share our gifts, or a business person trying to package up our offering and, present it to the world and sell it, share it, offer it, whatever. Whatever it is that we're doing, when we take the spark of life, the spirit in our hearts and our souls and offer it outside, we become vulnerable, for lack of better words, to all kinds of responses. Because when we set the thing that's inside of us free, it's now free. It's no longer hidden. It's now visible. It's now exposed. And I think a lot of people confuse negative reactions to the parts of their souls that they reveal to the world as proof that they are misaligned or disconnected from God or wrong or this or that. And of course there's nuance with this, okay? There is nuance with this. Um, and I don't think, I mean, I can't judge someone else's situation off face value. I can't say, I can't confirm to you whether or not you're connected with God. That's something that only you can, decide or sense. And I can share my experience of it, and other people can share their experiences of how they connect with God and what that feels like. And we can learn together about what our sacred personal relationships with God look like, but we can't, assume that we know what we don't know. That's just not fair, and it's not right. But anyway, this is kind of what I want to talk about today, and it's just this distinction between being connected with God in your own secret inner universe and expressing your light from a place of connection, versus being deceived by, projections that come from the outside world or from people who think that maybe they know you, or who see your expression and your gifts and they squash it, or they bring their own arguments into the room that are not even related to what you're talking about. I mean, those are just some examples of things I experience, right? Because I post videos related to trauma and abuse survival on my Instagram, and I mostly get a lot of resonance from other people who've experienced the same thing, and then I also get a lot of projections from people who think that they know me. They say very mean things about me, and it's all just projections, and I don't know where it's coming from, but people also argue against points that I never brought up. It's like they're in their own universe and they make projections, or they bring their own, projections to the table instead of actually engaging what's in front of them. And I think that a lot of people do that. And the thing is, when you're expressing your soul gifts and your calling, it's, what was I going to say? It's not going to be for everyone. And, there's a difference between someone disagreeing or not resonating with what you share and them making what you share into something that it's not, or projecting or assuming or doing whatever they're doing. And so coming back full circle to what I have been talking about this whole time, I've been going through this kind of really interesting process lately from many different angles of me, oscillating or being pulled or influenced between being in my center and like literally serving, like doing God's work. And when I say doing God's work, I just mean being in integrity with my soul and with my spirit. I don't mean like some grandiose, like thing. I think every human is doing God's work when they're fulfilled in spirit, when they're in integrity, when they're serving from their heart. It's really, really extremely simple. I mean, that's how I would use the term and how I would define it. But so there's a difference between serving from a connected space and expressing from that connected space and not that. And that's really all I'm talking about here, And so that message came through in my dream. It was like, stop expecting God to be present in places or with people who reject the truth or avoid reality or resist the truth, because, and when I say the truth, I mean reality, like objective reality. which includes all of our experiences, my experience and your experience and everyone else's experience. But just because I have my experience doesn't mean that it's superior to your experience or more true than your experience. It's just my lived experience. And there's a difference between lived experience and assumptions and projections and absolute claims. You know, there's a difference between lived experience sometimes and patterns that are observable in reality. And I just say this to clarify that when I talk about truth, I don't mean like I'm right, you're wrong. I mean like what we are experiencing outside of projections, you know, like reality, like objective reality. And there's room for everyone's reality. But as soon as, you know, different people's egos or assumptions or opinions become the center of the room, it's like are we talking about reality anymore? I just completely lost my train of thought there. Yeah, I'm gonna reel it back in a little bit. But yeah. So this one was kind of a rambly one, and I didn't even touch my tarot cards. But I guess what I'll leave you with is, you know, what is your relationship, like how are you nurturing your relationship with your soul gifts and with source, with creation, with your sense of purpose or calling? How are you nurturing you know, your truth and what you want to bring forward into this earth, into this life? How are you expressing that? How are you protecting it? How are you honoring it? You know, because I think the truth is that you can't really necessarily protect what's outside of you. Like when you release a gift or a piece of art or an offering, it's like it's exposed to the world now. It's no longer inside, it's now outside. But when I say protect, I'm talking about how can you protect your own connection with the divine and with God? How can you honor that? How can you invite God into your life? God, source, creation, truth, alignment, integrity, whatever that means to you, the creator of everything. Guys, I just have to show you how beautiful this is right now. We have some amazing, I don't even know if you can see this, but yeah, I don't even know if you can see that, but there's some beautiful like monsoon clouds forming, and they're just really special out the window. So yeah, how are you nurturing that connection? And also in what ways do you allow God to speak through you, to move through your life, to guide you, to speak to you, you know? Maybe another question could be, you know, what are some ways that you discern the difference between your spirit, you know, the voice of God, like your inner truth in your heart and your soul, and what's not that? Because we're humans and we're convoluted, complex creatures, a lot of the time we might, you know, absorb projections or emotions or ideas that distort our view of ourselves in the identity of God. I believe that every human is a child of God. In other words, you know, you are light, you are love, and I'm not saying that you're not human, and I'm not one of those people who's like deluded and thinks that, you know, we're only love and light and we don't experience darkness or have, you know, this or that, whatever. No, I'm all about, you know, pain and acknowledging that and being present with that. But you know, within the soup of what we are and our experience, that is all encapsulated in God. Like, at the end of the day, I think fundamentally our human identity should be rooted in godly qualities, which, again, in my experience, in my view, would be things like integrity, alignment, honesty, curiosity. I think just like good human virtues, good characteristics, compassion, kindness, whatever, yeah. Where else was I going with this? I speak off the top of my head. I don't have notes, so I can get a little lost in the sauce sometimes. Let me just collect my thoughts. But basically, I was just talking about like inviting you to ask yourself, how do I discern the difference between what's really me and aligned with my soul, my spirit, and what is not. I don't know. And I think I just want to invite whoever's watching this, if you need this, if it resonates, to spend some time listening to yourself. And I think there's so much sweetness that can come from just slowing down, getting still, getting creative, and just making room, making an invitation for your spirit to speak. Because a lot of the time when we're dealing with confusion or drama or whatever it is, I think that just creating space, or like an altar in your being, or expressing yourself creatively, it's like all of those acts can be bridges to allow your clarity and your sense of center back in. This topic is really inspiring to me, and there's so much that I could share about it, and there's so much that I want to hear from other people who, resonate with this and who want to talk more about this. So if that's you, then definitely leave a comment. I didn't even use my deck. I didn't even touch it today. That's fine. I said what I needed to say. So anyway, hope this found you well, and I will speak with you next time.